Refugees, if you want to use that word, migrants, if you want to use that word, are here, that they're swarming over here. They're coming to take our jobs and take all our benefits and drive away in our cars, when the reality is the numbers are absolutely tiny.
I've read so many articles about this, about what refugees have to go through, and sometimes I'm almost crying when I read it because it's just horrible.
If you're not able to contribute to society, you can't integrate. If you can't integrate, then people think that you keep yourself apart. It's a really weird paradox that we don't allow people to become involved in society, but yeah, at the same time we criticise them for not being.
The crisis in Syria, Mali, Central African Republic, South Sudan started when the government committed crimes against humanity, its own citizens, and the battle to release political prisoners. The government responded by sending out their army to stop mass protests occurring. Specifically in Syria, war erupted between the Syrian army and the rebels. A total of 2.5 million Syrians have become refugees and 6 million have been displaced. Refugees have fled all over Europe and all areas of the UK, but what does this mean for the city of Leeds? The co-founders of online community Block spoke openly about how they're impacting Leeds and challenging the media.
Our focus on refugees just came about by accident when the recent crisis started. We just sort of thought, in response to all the negative media surrounding it and all the comments we were seeing on social media, we thought we needed to be part of something that was challenging that. So we set up, I suppose initially, a couple of months ago, we set up a fundraising and awareness raising night in Leeds, and that got quite a lot of response, more response than we thought it would get. And a lot of it was negative, but we got quite a lot of positive response as well.
Yeah, we've tried to sort of combat what we found when we first started to discuss it online with people was that we're battling against the mainstream media and politicians, and often the language that they use and the stories that they put out are often obviously not quite what it actually is, what the crisis actually is. So we sort of decided that we'd go actually give people the facts and actually sort of myth bust a lot of what was being done. So we've put like a myth busting thing together online, so that the common arguments that you come up against actually aren't true if you delve into them, but what a lot of people don't do is they don't delve into it because they trust what they're being told by the Sun or the Daily Mail websites. We've tried to sort of combat that. We personally don't have the network to be able to support refugees once they're here, for example. What we do have is the ability to be able to try and garner up that support for refugees and direct those people that do want to help towards the right people. It's often what we've found by doing what we've done is that a lot of people want to help but they don't know how to help. So we've tried to network with these different groups and try and put people in touch with each other.
28-year-old Saeed Muthana, previously a refugee from Yemen, came to the UK 4 years ago after fleeing political issues against the regime at the time. He speaks of his experiences feeling interrogated by the Home Office and compares it to the refugee crisis today.
My journey was very easy because they because we have clear situation there. My father was vice ambassador in India, so we got visa, tickets, everything, and we just moved. But when I hear a lot of stories about Syria and how their journey was it's very, very delayed and very difficult. That was really sad. But what put us under pressure was the interviews here, Home Office interviews, and waiting for a decision from them. That was under pressure. We seek asylum in, we apply our application for the Home Office, and then we used to live in Sheffield, and then they moved us to Huddersfield, from there, and then we spent there 20 days maybe, and then we moved to Stockton-on-Tees for another interview. We spent there 1 month. And then we had a decision, what they call it, leave to remain. It's too hard, because you have to build yourself from the 0 point again. You leave everything. But you need to have some passion, like to be ambitious, like to move through this life.
Channel 4 journalist Jamal Osman openly writes about how he's a British citizen, not a second-class citizen, and after being accepted asylum from Somalia back in 1999. Do 21st century refugees feel like second-class citizens? And are we empathising enough as a nation?
I would really hope they don't, but I can understand that they do. And it would certainly depend on what their status is as well. So if they've achieved complete refugee status, and then they're allowed to work, as the man you mentions clearly is, then they can start to begin to build something of a normal life within this great country of ours, and I really hope they can. But even then, I think there would, that you'd have that sense of outsiderness, you'd have that sense of difference, and it's our duty then to make people in that position feel as welcome as they can, while also the onus is on them to integrate as best they can. And you do have instances of some pretty serious culture clashes going on. So there's that. If, however, the person you're talking about is an asylum seeker, hasn't even achieved refugee status, then that must be a nightmare for them. And yeah, you would absolutely feel like a second-class citizen, not allowed to work on a really limited prescribed income, not allowed to learn, often being housed in some of the poorest housing in the country. Yeah, how could you feel anything else than that?
Coordinator for Refugees Welcome in Leeds, Margaret Kudalkova, has set up donation points around Leeds Beckett University and has created a newsletter for refugees in the city. Does she believe refugees could feel like second-class citizens?
You know, if you just take in the red doors that was discussed, that, you know, refugees were just given living in houses that were painted red, or just that they had to have like special bracelets, I think, so that they could like pick up some, you know, food. And yeah, I think it's really difficult because you come in a new country, then the majority of people look at you like if you are an economic migrant and you're just abusing the system and getting benefits, which is obviously not true, because to be honest, they are really not getting a lot. But then, yeah, I think it's really difficult to fit in, you know, and then you've got all this traumatic experience that you would probably need a lot of, well, counseling or just, you know, friends or safe environment to talk about, but you need to be in touch with the Home Office and, you know, try to fill in all your paperwork and make your case. So yeah, it must be really difficult.
Do you feel like Leeds as a city is doing enough to help them?
Well, I mean, I would say that the response is overall positive, that people are trying to help them, you know, from what I see here at uni, but also there are really quite many charities here that are helping asylum seekers, refugees. But there is still, you know, I think that we could be accepting more of them.
The assumption from many is that an older generation in Leeds find it hard to accept and sympathise with refugees. But I wanted to know what the younger generation feel about the influx of refugees coming over to the UK. I spoke to 3 young adults with strong opinions on the crisis and what the UK's response should be.
There's always the trouble of people being racist, obviously. I think with older generations especially, not so much our generation, I think we've grown up more in a multicultural society, but for those that have grown up in a society where it's not so multicultural, probably don't know how to accept it.
I do completely agree that UK is such a multicultural country, and you can see a lot of effort made by young people, especially making all kinds of sorts of social events to welcome refugees, and I feel like this is how it should be. And as with racism, you can always find racist people everywhere. However, I think it's not as bad as in other countries.
I think with refugees, you have to look at the history of the Middle East, and you have to look at the history of North Africa to kind of understand what's actually going on there and what they're running away from. They're running away from bombs. They're running away from destruction. They're running away from like death, more or less. So most of the population, especially those of the right wing, they because they don't understand the situation there, and even if some do understand the situation, they ignore the situation due to their hatred and stuff. But I feel if, once people get to know refugees, once people get to know the history of the region, then that will definitely lead to more open minds, and where we can kind of bring refugees in with open arms. More of the population can, because many of the population does.
John Beach, director at Leeds Asylum Seeker Support Network, puts emphasis on how he is changing perceptions on prejudice and helping refugees and families from Leeds integrate.
Well, we try and everyone to know that they've got something to contribute, that there's something that everyone's got to offer. So our volunteers give time, but they also get loads as well, because they meet someone from halfway across the world who's got amazing stories to tell. Some of them are awful and tragic, but sometimes, it's just like having a friend from a different part of the world, which is a great thing in people's lives. There's a young woman that I know who was 7 when her mum and her 2 mums started to look at to take people into their homes and to say, you can stay with us if you want to, if you've got nowhere. And originally she was freaked out by this, and this little girl said she was afraid to go to the loo in the middle of the night because there was a strange man living next door, and she wasn't sure if it was safe or not. And she talked to her mum about, is this, I'm not sure about these strange men we have in our house, what's going on? And her mum said, well, if this person doesn't live here, where are they going to live? And she told me about how when she was 7 she thought, no, but my mum's right, if they don't live here then where are they going to live? And so she kind of got used to the idea, and now she's going on to university. She's going to do a human rights degree. She's passionate about social justice, passionate about the importance of people being able to find a home somewhere that's safe. We've changed that young woman's life. Now, by introducing her to people from all parts of the world. Now, what do we do to try and make people's situations better? We encourage people to have friends. Most people who have prejudice are prejudiced because they're afraid, and they're afraid of something that they don't know, or that they think they know, or that they've been told this is how some people are. And the way that we help to introduce people, the way that we say that everyone's got something to offer. So, the Syrian guys who go around to the old ladies' houses, who are there cleaning up the garden, mowing the lawn, cutting back sort of foliage and stuff like that, and the older ladies are then teaching them English and sharing cups of tea and the rest of it. Both parties win from that situation. We don't patronise people. People have got a lot to offer, they just need an opportunity.
Saeed Muthana also spoke about how the differences in culture make him miss celebrations like Islamic Holy Month and Eid. Although he intends to make the most of his life in Leeds while studying, he points out that going back to his home country one day is what would make him most happy.
For me, I would be happy to live in Yemen, because I love my country very much. But we'll see what happens next, maybe. Because here, sometimes you feel like I still feel I'm strange here. It's not my community.
Human rights should be flourishing. It is important that they would carry their cultural heritage.
They're just humans at the end of the day. We're all just human at the end of the day, and we all deserve human rights. You only have to look at the jungle in Calais, which has now since been dismantled, to see that they don't have any human rights. These are people that don't have anywhere to live, are living in tents, are just risking their lives.
What's inspiring about sort of responses to the refugee crisis is how caring and open and willing to give up their time a lot of people are.
If the human side of you doesn't feel any emotion or response towards that, then it's very difficult to understand, because these are people, these are parents, they're children, they're people's brothers, people's sisters that are fleeing. They don't want to flee, they were perfectly happy where they were before.
They want to come here and they want to work and they want to be good citizens, but what they really want to do is never to have left their country of origin in the first place.